Hello, we are back, and we're about to have some fun. We're in the studio, looking at everything that has been created or is being created right now, and it's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah, so I'm just going to roll out a couple coils here for when we do some attachments on. So this is a commission piece I'm working on right now. So it's going to be 3 cedar trees, and basically everything that I make starts from a slab. I use a slab roller. I don't have a pottery wheel.
Okay.
Everything starts from a slab, and I use a lot of molds. One of my favorite molds is an egg. I use this for chicken bodies. I use this for heads. I use this for like so many things. And I have different sizes of eggs.
That's so cool.
I know, I've got these boat molds, and instead of, like, I used to make these boat dishes. Well, now they become like the base
Of your pieces.
of the piece. And I like to explore with different techniques. And when I was at Red Deer College, my instructor, Trudy Gawley, who is genius, she showed us a lot of different techniques. And so I still sometimes will go back into my sketchbooks and see things. And one of the things that we learned was adding perlite to clay. And so you get like some really wicked texture. Like this is like a really thin clay, and it's full of perlite. So it becomes lighter. This was one of the methods that I learned from Trudy. And so this is a solid base. If you had that as solid clay, it'd be really heavy. Mm-hmm. And it might also explode, or, you know, it would take a long time to dry and a long time to fire. And it's just stupid to have that thick of a chunk. So, but when you add the perlite to it, it takes up space and adds lightness.
Okay.
So, and it gives a great texture.
While keeping that that structural integrity of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So these I made yesterday, and so I also made them out of a slab, and then I carved them, and then as they're like still soft, I can manipulate it and make it kind of craggy and kind of crusty, right? Because I like it when things look a little bit rough or it's not perfect. These are all the pieces that I will start adding to the top. And these are all made just of slab, 2 pieces that I stick together, and some of them, like, I like them to be, you know, puffy or not just flat. So I've made all these components that they're a little soft, but we'll make it work. So, you know, there's the general scoring and slipping and sticking.
So it's basically just the gluing aspect.
Yeah.
So trying to score something that it can grip to.
Yep.
Okay.
It's all a little soft. Even the trunk is a little soft for me. I prefer them to be a bit harder or firmer. And then I always like make a coil in here to just give it some more length, because I don't want anything to fall off or come apart.
Okay.
So a coil will just add extra support to the piece that you're adding. Look at it, it's too floppy. I need a heat gun. So ceramics is like hurry up and wait. Mm-hmm. You do all this work, you get it all ready, and then you gotta wait for the next step. So generally I will have 2 or 3 projects on the go, and then I can leave something.
And bounce back and forth.
Yeah, and then I can come back to it later, or I will, like yesterday it took me just about all day to make these, and then I leave them overnight, and usually by the time I come back in the morning, they're ready to go. They've firmed up enough.
Okay.
But there's other things, you know, like I make them and then it's like, I better get that done, because if I leave it, it's going to be crap. When making molds of things is kind of fun, right? Like dog toys can be really interesting, or like certain toys, kids' toys. You know, found objects. Like I found this company, they're from the Ukraine, and they did all this like crazy rolling pins. Oh. Well, and the cool thing is with ceramics is you can make all your own stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, like these are the bubbles that I on my mermaid mugs. Like there's texture on there. So the texture I use on there, I made like on the back of the handle and you know whatever. So and like I found molds of those. Like it's called IOD or something.
I love that it's on the inside.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like I love that attention to detail there. That is so cool.
I look at every surface is an opportunity for decoration. Mm-hmm. So you do the bottom, you got the inside at the bottom. The inside of here is really cool.
I
like,
love that, the way it feels. Yeah.
You know, and so every surface, like even the edge here, has an opportunity to put some kind of decoration on.
It's so cool.
Yeah, and like even, so like these ones,
are the tree ones?
These are the tree ones that I've been making.
They're so cool.
So I took a stick and I just pressed it into clay and I made a little sprig mold from it. And then I can use that on the handle. And then I just carve everything and push it out. And, you know, then you can get high temperature wire that fires all the way to the top temp. So then you can add, you know, things. This one I add like a little heart on the bottom.
I love the color choices too. Like the color palette that you have for what you're choosing. I really enjoy it. Can
I show you some of those things over there?
Oh, for sure. There's so much to see in here.
I know.
It's actually like, because you see those online.
So that's my Cirque du Poulet.
Yeah, it's so cool. Love it.
Yeah.
The elephant is so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Very mindful.
They're so stunning. I love these trees.
Yeah.
So this is what the finished product looks like?
No. So this one is finished.
Okay.
That one is finished. These have only been bisque fired, so they've only been fired once.
Oh, okay.
So then I still have to like add some copper and things to it to accentuate the grooves. And I've got some wording and stuff I want to write on here. And then this one will have like this color of glaze on. This is the cedar tree.
Okay.
So it'll be different. Like it's still kind of white.
I love the concept of the tree growing out of the roof.
Yeah. So when I was talking earlier about how sometimes things show up when you're least expect it, like you don't think that you're making something, and then it shows up. So this is the second one of these I made, and the first one is inside my living room in a boat.
Okay.
When I was making this, I had an idea that I wanted these 3 trees to be, side by side and all kind of connected. And when I looked at it, this negative space looks like a head. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, it was like there's 3 figures that are like joined and
arms up and raised and holding each other.
Yeah, and they're just like supporting each other. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it just was so heartfelt, and it just hit me really, really hard. And I'm like, wow, that is the part of making art that I love, is when you get hit with that thing that you didn't even know was happening. Mm-hmm. And you're like, wow, I just made that. And it's almost where the
spiritual aspect of being an artist takes over, and as what people call their rain man, or they're like their guide that takes over when they're being inspired. And that's where the ideas actually come from. Like when Bob Marley used to say that he never wrote his lyrics, he would just let the spirit go through him, and that's where they came from, and then he'd have to memorize them. And that's kind of like how I feel with when I'm writing music is I'm not the person writing it. It's always just like I'm a vessel for what the universe needs to put out. So it's kind of cool that you do it in a different medium where it's physical and it'll last, as mine's like auditory, and you can only hear it so much, and only certain people will hear it. So it's kind of a cool thing to.
But it's still forever.
Visual, yeah, and that's why I like visual art. I always gravitate towards people who do paintings and stuff like that, because I can't think of something and create it physically. I can think of something and create it music-wise, but like to be a painter and things like that, I'm terrible with. I've always tried to do it just for fun because it's soothing, but creating something like that, like what you said, it's like you didn't even realize it, but that piece has something more connected to it than what you originally thought, which is
it's
kind of
cool.
mind-blowing.
It's cool, and it's happened to me a number of times in things that I've made over the years, is that happening where you make it and the actual meaning comes out after. You know, like you said, you're just the vessel. You're just putting through what is flowing. And when you get in that flow state and stuff, it's magic, you know. And I'm so very grateful to have this space and to be able to just be in here and make stuff. You know, it's a lovely, there's good energy in here.
There is, yeah. That's one thing I noticed walking in, is it was very light. Are those the tiles that you were talking about?
So these are the tiles that are going on this fire table. So they're all the naked people.
I love it.
So they're all in
That's hilarious. See, it's cool that you make tiles though. Like, to me, that is that's a skill set that I don't think most people would think of it when they're doing ceramics, right? I love it.
What kind of Kung Fu Charlie's going on there? They just make me laugh so much.
Right.
So I was so grateful my friends lent me those.
I love the colors. So these are all needing to be heated still?
Yeah, so they're greenware, so they're like raw. So yeah, I will add some color to them in underglazes or whatever. The terracage goes on at this stage. And then I will fire them once, then I'll glaze them and kind of dirty them up a bit and then put them back in.
I love this piece up here.
Yeah, that was a class I took actually years ago, and I have never fired it. So, but this piece we were looking at, like, this was just a small kind of maquette, and I really want to make a sculpture of this because it's just so funny.
I love it.
Look at her boobs. Do you know, I was part of a, I think it was a centennial thing or something. I can't remember. When Canada turned 150, or I don't know, I can't remember. We did a big group thing where we, a bunch of artists, one of my friends had wanted to do like a big art show, and they gave everybody, if you're interested in participating, you got a box of crap and you had to make something with this stuff. So I had like a beer can and an old shoe and some other things, and there was like some baseball memorabilia and some other things in there. And so I started making a sculpture, and I was going to make a baseball player, and it just wasn't working out. And I thought, what is wrong with this, right? And it just I couldn't get the feel for it. And then I stuck a set of boobs on it, and I was like, yeah. So I put some boobs on it, and then she had on like a little thong and, you know, a little bikini and a little swim cap and stuff. And I called her Roxy the Barley Babe. And she had like, remember when you were a kid and you used to like step on a pop can and walk around with a pop can? So I put the boot on her, or the shoe on her, and then the other foot had the beer can. And, you know, I loved her, and I moved her here and she broke. So I was really sad. Oh, she also held out, there was a picture frame in the box. So I had her holding this picture frame, and she was kind of like looking through it. And after a while I thought, okay, I don't like that. So I made like a rainbow with clouds and things. So then she, I think there was a whole bunch of pride stuff going on or something. So I had her holding this rainbow with the clouds, and that was like my favorite thing.
That's so cute. Yeah. I love that.
Sometimes I'd put something else in her hands, you know, like whatever was going on.
Yeah.
And that was cool.
What is the biggest piece that you've accomplished today? How tall has it been, or wide?
So I think it was probably that Roxy, because she was about this big, I think.
Oh wow!
And I had to fire her head separate from her body. So her body obviously was big, and but yeah, to get her to fit in the kiln, I had to take her head off. So that was a logical place to kind of, you know. But like I said, I'm going to be making those taller trees.
Yeah.
So
Are they going to be ones like this?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So a friend is making me the armature and the stand that they'll fit on, and then I will just build it in sections and then figure it out. Yeah. I'm excited about that, actually.
That would be a cool experience.
So,
Thanks.
the one thing about ceramics is what I find magical is that when somebody doesn't know what you're doing. So yeah, I've painted things because it comes out of the kiln and you're like, that's not what I wanted, you know, or something happens and I think I'm just going to touch it up with some paint. I'm going to touch it up with this or that, and you get the look that you want. You don't have to be limited to making everything work out in the kiln. You can do whatever you want. You know, like I said, a cup or a mug or something has certain parameters that you have to have in order to make it food safe, go through a dishwasher or washing, you know, all that kind of thing. But sculptural stuff, I've known people who put flocking on their stuff. You know, like I've added, like the next direction I want to go is using found objects and adding ceramic sculptural pieces to found objects. So I've got a bunch of pieces that I'm amassing that I want to add figures to, or you know, whatever. And we'll see how that goes.
That's really cool, like upcycling and creating art out of it.
Yeah, like old metal, or I found this basket thing over there and it's going to be like the skirt, and then I'll make the figure on the top and maybe have her legs hanging inside or something. You know, I found a light fixture that is, I think, from the 60s, and I want to turn it upside down and make it a rocket ship, you know, because it's got all these things, right? And I'm like, turn it, and then it would be like all the lights coming down and looking like a rocket ship. So, you know, it's just all up there.
Yeah, I love it.
I need all this time that I don't have.
Right, and that's what I can't remember. My one friend said, he said, you've got 1,000,001 projects and you got to choose the 150 that you want to do.
Right?
Because you're never going to be able to finish them all. And that's like the hardest thing about being a creative person is like, one day you're going to hit a point where you can't do it anymore. So getting it all out what you can is like, that's what we're meant to do. We're not supposed to be stuck in a box. And that's why it's like, you're right where you need to be and doing what you do. And it's cool to see that the evolution of how it started to come to where you're working on now and what you're doing, because I love these are so cool.
Thank you.
I love the concept of like the way you've carved the knots into them and everything, and the burls, and they're just stunning.
Well, you know, so one of my signature things is putting a heart on things. And I used to have hearts on like the chest of things, on my ladies, you know, whatever. And somebody saw one of my mugs or something and she's like, oh, I love how you put a heart on it. And I'm like, I didn't. So I looked at it, I'm like, what? I didn't know what she saw, but I'm like, I'm going to do it. So I started carving like in those knots. One of them's a little heart, you know? And so inspiration and answers and things come to you through so many different avenues. You know, you just got to be open and listen.
No, it's very true. This has been an absolutely incredible experience. I want to thank you for your time, your story.
Thank you.
And getting to spend 2 hours with you has been
Thank you
incredible.
so much.
We'd love to do it again next time when we're out and see where you are, and then a year or two and see what you're creating then. So
For sure.
thank you again for your time, your story.
Thank you.
And if you would like to be a part of the show, there will be a QR code at the bottom of the screen that you can scan. It'll take you to a form to fill out, and we will be in touch. I'm Robb, and this has been Story Hive on Location Kelowna. We'll catch you guys next time.